Now, this whole shit show appears to have started with the litter box rumor, as well as the Oklahoma bill, the anti furry one to be specific, which, as far as I am aware, has not passed, and I don't see it passing at all. I would like to begin by making this very clear. I am not a lawyer, I am not a law legislator, and I am not even American. Which is why, in order to make this video, I did have to do a lot of research about America, as well as a few of its political parts. Not all of it, but just the parts that would be necessary for this. I've also spoken to most of my American acquaintances, as well as friends, to also get an idea about how the laws work over there. And with that stated, don't take this video as a basically legal advice thing, because I can't give legal advice. But take this more as a discussion that is just so happens to be related to legality and somewhat related to politics as well. Now, this whole shit show appears to have started with the litter box rumor, as well as the Oklahoma bill, the anti furry one to be specific, which, as far as I am aware, has not passed, and I don't see it passing at all. This is Justin Humphrey, the guy that proposed the bill.
Oh dear, I seem to have spotted a cunt. Good day.
And why am I not surprised? Oh boy. Yeah, we're gonna learn quite a bit about Mr. Humphrey for you, specifically about how much of a fucking idiot this guy is. But, apart from that, we're gonna be learning quite a bit about him. And this is the bill, the State of Oklahoma second session of the 15th Legislature 2024, by Mr. Humphrey. Now, let's go ahead and take a quick read of this and then get to it. As introduced, an act relating to schools, prohibiting certain students from participating in school curriculum or activities, requiring the student's parent or guardian to pick the student up from school, providing for removal of the student by animal control services, providing for codification, and providing an effective date. Already we're at a really bad start. Be it enacted by the people of the state of Oklahoma, Section 1, new law, a section of law to be codified in Oklahoma statutes as Section 11301 of Title 70, unless there is created a duplication in numbering, reads as follows. Students who purport to be an imaginary animal or animal species, or who engage in anthropomorphic behavior, commonly referred to as furries at school, shall not be allowed to participate in school curriculum or activities. Now, first off, the word anthropomorphic behavior. Get this. So if a human acts like a fucking human, that's an issue? Because that's what anthropomorphic means, by the way. Anthropomorphic, by definition, is human-like behavior. So if they can walk on two legs, communicate like a human, talk like a human, and do human things, that's an issue. Yeah, the anthropomorphic behavior part already just completely destroys this thing, but that's a different story. So if a human acts like a human, which is an anthropomorphic behavior, that's an issue. Again, anthropomorphic definition. This is in Turkish, wait. Cansız varlıklara davranışsal duygusal kişiliği affetme. Basically, yeah, if you behave like a human, that is anthropomorphic. So, that's basically a problem, somehow. Now let's get. The parents or guardians of a student in violation of this section shall pick the student up from the school, or animal control services shall be contacted to remove the student. Again, this is very, very unnecessarily dumb. Violation of section shall pick up the student and remove the student. Section 2. This act shall become effective in November 1, 2024. school curriculum. Now let's get to why this is cruel and unusual punishment. 1. It does not fit the proposed crime. 2. This is humiliation, which is a cruel and unusual punishment. Like pretty much everyone else, they know that the parents will most likely be at work, too busy to come and pick up their kids. Thus, animal control will be called anyways. And 3. This will turn the kid into a prime bullying target. Like, if you have kids that were already thinking about bullying someone, and that target that they were having to bully gets taken away by animal control, the next time they come to school, if they do, those bullies are going to have the perfect thing to target them for, making them the perfect target for bullying. And keep in mind, I was a kid at one point. I went to school. I know how fucking horrible kids can be to each other. And number 4, the description that they gave to furries is so vague that anyone can be called a furry. Like, if some kid makes the "I'm the GOAT" joke with his friends, is that enough to call him/her a furry? This would also be an extremely easy thing to abuse, and thus a complete pain in the ass to enforce, both for the police officers as well as unnecessary stress for the students. Because the definition is so vague that anybody can call them a furry and abuse this. Now let's get to the dress code related part. When it comes to this, I completely understand and am even in support of not allowing fursuits as well as fursuit related things inside of a school. The reason for this is because the school is not a furry convention. It's not a furry meetup either. It's a place that you go in order to learn, so that in the future you don't have to learn as much. And distractions are a big issue. So going to school with a fursuit would be a big distraction. So on this part, I do agree. Having fursuits in a school environment, in an education-focused environment, is not a good idea. With the exception if there is like a costume party or something similar to that going on that the school themselves have started for the students to have fun in. If that's the case, then obviously that's gonna be fine to wear a fursuit in that sort of an occasion. Now let's get to the most important part. It's against the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Let's get to that real quick. The US Bill of Rights. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Thanks to freedom of speech, you Americans are able to, as long as it's not breaking the law, of course, say and do what you want. Freedom of speech also applies to self-expression. And if you remember the dumbass proposal, it goes completely against it. So it is not in favor of free speech. So it's against free speech as well. I would also like to mention, furries don't believe they are animals. Those are the farians. I have a video about this if you are interested, but just in case you aren't, here is a short version of that video, short enough to give you like an understanding of the difference between a furry and a farian. Furries are fully aware, at least the overwhelming majority are fully aware, that this is just a fun little hobby that we like to engage in and gives us comfort. And we are at the end of the day still human beings. There are those who, however, think this way, which are known as farians. Now you may be asking, so what are farians? Well, farians are individuals who believe they are not entirely human, be it in mind, spirit, or both. And so they identify as a species other than human. Similarities between furries and farians do happen, they are present, and sometimes a farian can also happen to consider themselves a furry, but the two of them are separate things and not the same. Now, to give you an even better idea of just how much of a fucking idiot this guy is, take a look at this.
And Cameron, this isn't the only bill raising eyebrows. Humphrey has filed another bill that some are calling racist.
That's right, Carl. House Bill 3133, filed by Representative Humphrey, states in part that any person...
Now, take a look at the wording here. Any person who is of Hispanic descent, is a member of a criminal street gang, has been convicted of a gang-related offense, shall be deemed to have committed acts of terrorism. For number 2 and 3, this makes perfect sense. But when we take a look at 1, is of Hispanic descent. Can you be a bit specific with that, Humphrey? Them simply being of Hispanic descent is enough for them to be a terrorist? Because notice how it doesn't say something like a criminal whom just so happens to be of Hispanic descent. Like, it's not that they're Hispanic and that's why they're criminal. It's that they are a criminal, but they just so happen to be, Hispanic. If it said something like that, it would not be this bad. But it straight up said is of Hispanic descent. So you being Hispanic, you having Hispanic descent is bad enough for you to be seen as a terrorist. Yeah, that is pretty fucking racist.
These representatives responded to this when I spoke with them today. Dollins condemning the rhetoric, while Humphrey saying it may need a little bit of rewording.
No shit, Humphrey. No fucking shit. You dumb cunt.
It's a terrible piece of legislation. It's racist. It unfairly targets
straight up
a demographic of people who predominantly make up the district I represent.
I do believe that the bill would be much improved if we would take out one ethnic group, and again, not about illegal people doing illegal things.
Shut the fuck up, you goddamn Dimmadome ripoff. Fuck off.
Hey, Turner, my name is Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome. Thank you for locating my long-lost son, Dale Dimmadome, heir to the Dimsdale Dimmadome fortune. If there's anything I can ever...
The whole litter box hoax is, well, it's just that. It's a hoax. It's a complete fucking lie. Several news media and fact-checking organizations have debunked the claim that schools were providing litter boxes to students to use in restrooms as unsubstantiated. Like, when you ask the school itself and the school says no, that's normally a good enough answer. Now, in early 2022, Snopes rated claims of litter boxes being placed in restrooms in Michigan schools as completely false. And many other fact-checking organizations as well as news organizations have went to these schools and straight up asked. And no, there is no evidence for this being actually true. No evidence whatsoever. Things such as PolitiFact, Agence France Presse, Reuters, Center Right, The Bulwark, NBC News, and on and on and on. You can go on and on. You can check it for yourself on YouTube or anything else now that I think about it. It is completely staged. It is a complete hoax with no truth in it whatsoever. But of course, an entertaining lie is always more liked than a boring truth, and as such, people will run for it. Now, the kind of people that will run for it, we already know what kind of people they are. Do I even need to bother saying it? Like, let's just be completely fair. We already know what kind of people go for this. Now, when it comes to the sexual deviancy argument, number one, they used to say the exact same thing for punks, emos, as well as goths, if I remember correctly. They used to say the exact same accusations towards us, even though, for the most part, that wasn't fucking true at all. And it's like, the whole sexual deviance thing, they will try and put that on the furry fandom as well, just as they did it to the punks, emos, and goths in the day. Now, you see, I come from Turkey, Anatolia, which is transcontinental. We are both right next to the Balkans, which is Eastern Europe and the Middle East. And our neighbors, Iran and Iraq, used to fucking kill emos. Literal children would be killed for the emo aesthetic. So, and yet here we are. There are still a lot of goths, punks, and emos in Turkey, not in Iran and Iraq. At least not as much as they used to be. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't any anymore. But most of those people ended up migrating right over here anyways, so we can still live that. And thankfully, the furry fandom will never have that big of an issue. At least I fucking hope they never will. But then again, the only good part is most furries appear to be in America, where they can actually get their hands on a weapon for self-defense purposes. So not a big issue. And it's like, they will always do that. Now, another thing that absolutely has to be mentioned here, because to put it simply, it just has to be. It does have a big play in dumbass American politics. Now, homophobia as well as anti-LGBTQ rhetoric also plays a part in this. This may sound very off, as in, what do you mean? How is this involved in that? Well, don't worry, we will get into how it's involved in that in just a moment. Now, back in the day, they used to say the same thing for immigrants as well as black people. They're sexual deviants, they bully people, they do crimes, and on and on and on. Like basically making them look like subhuman trash and bullying them for it. Because back then it was the easy target. They can't do that anymore. When they couldn't do it, they went for gay people instead. And now that they can't do it to gay people, at least not as much as they used to, now they're going for the furry community, because the furry community has a lot of LGBTQ members. Keep in mind, the furry fandom does not have an anti-straight furry policy. No, there are plenty of straight furries in the furry fandom. You can find them if you look for them, obviously. A good chunk of my furry friends are straight. Obviously, the majority of them are LGBTQ+, but straight friends are quite a lot. Like, straight furries are a thing. And when eventually they won't be able to bully the furries anymore, they'll hop on to the next, which whoever happens to be the easy target at the time, they're gonna end up having to deal with this. Just as the furry fandom, the gay community, the LGBT community, and before them the punks, emos, and goths did.